Type 1 and type 2 errors. So it's a type 1 error is when you, and then I'll have a question for you about it. A type 1 error is when you reject H naught when it was actually true. So you have to memorize type 1 and type 2. It's not on the formula card. Type 1, you reject H naught. Type 2, you fail to reject H naught. And a way to help you remember is the word fail to reject H naught. Okay, type 2. I'm serious. You need something to work. Otherwise, it's like so easy. So here at the bottom, 2, type 2 means we fail to reject the null hypothesis. So that'll help you keep them straight in your mind. Type 1, you reject H naught. Type 2, you fail to reject H naught. Now, keep in mind these errors do not mean you made a mistake. It's just possible that our sample was not reflective of the population due to random chance. And so it doesn't mean you actually made a mistake, but they're called errors. So now my question to you, we're going to practice a couple things, but is a type 1 error better or is a type 2 error better? Okay, so let's look at that, and then I'll ask you again. So here we go. I'm gonna add. I'm gonna just loosely define, even though it's not a proportion or a mean. Let's just say. So the question is, which is worse? So let's just say H naught is in. So this is in the in our justice system. Okay. H naught is that you're innocent. And the alternative hypothesis is that you're not innocent or guilty. Well, we'll just write not innocent. So just informally. So let's go over, let's look at what a type 1 error would mean in context. What would a type 2 error mean in context? And then we'll decide together which is worse. Okay, so type 1 is we reject H naught. So we basically conclude that someone's not innocent when they are innocent. That's type 1. Type 2, we fail to reject H naught. So they may still be innocent even though they're really not. So which is better, type 1 or type 2? In like our court of law, right? It should be type 2, right? You don't want people to be innocent until proven guilty, right? So in that case, a type, it'd be worse to make, which one again? Sorry, type 1, type 2? It'd be worse to make a type 1 error, right? So type 1 is that you think you conclude that someone's guilty when they're not. So type 1 is worse in that case. So if they get off innocent when they're guilty, it happens, but it's worse to put someone in jail. It's okay. So in this,
if you let a serial come out?
Okay, well, we can come up with exceptions. Okay, so now let's try this one. Let's say H naught is that there's no fire, and the alternative is that there is a fire. There is a fire. So type 1, we reject H naught. So there actually is a fire, but we think there's no fire. That's type 1. Type 2, we fail to reject H naught. So we think there's no fire when there is a fire. Which is worse? Clearly type 2. Right. So clearly type 2 would be a worse mistake to make. Okay? Because a false alarm is fine, but if the alarm doesn't go off. So the answer to which is better, it depends. It depends on the context. So let's try this one together. So we are at In-N-Out Burger, and in order to reduce the proportion of drive-thru customers who have to wait more than 2 minutes to receive their food, that's what we want to do. Based on store records, the proportion of customers who had to wait at least 2 minutes was P equals 0.63. To reduce this proportion, the manager assigns an additional employee to assist with drive-through orders, which you've probably seen. During the next month, the manager will collect a random sample of drive-through times and test the following hypotheses. So the null hypothesis is that that P equals, notice it's always equal, the null hypothesis, P equals 0.63. That's the statement of no difference. And then the alternative is we suspect that, or we're hoping that the proportion of customers that have to wait is less than 63%. So describe a type 1 and type 2 error in this setting and explain the consequences. So this is a very realistic objective for you to be able to do. So we'll start with type 1. So type 1 is that type 1. So we fail to, we reject H naught. So if we reject H naught, we're thinking that the proportion of customers that are waiting has been reduced. So we think proportion of customers waiting has been reduced when it really has not. And so that's just one, that's the first part. And then the consequence is that we're paying unnecessarily for that extra employee. That's the consequence to our business. So the consequence is paying unnecessarily for the extra employee, is paying extra money. So then type 2 is we fail to reject H naught. So we're thinking the proportion is still 63%. So we think proportion of customers waiting is still 63%. So we fire that extra employee. So we fire the extra employee who was actually helping. Employee who was actually helping, because we thought it's still at 63%.